Sheesh. I'm just waiting for Ben to come out and drop some bars, bro, or something. We talking about sports, baby. And then I was Roland was just gonna come in. It was gonna be kind of like a battle kind of vibe. But hey, we
We're
talking
gonna do
about
a
sports.
cipher.
Yeah, a little cipher action. Welcome everybody for watching. We talking about sports. This is We Talkin Shop. The reason that we call it We Talkin Shop is because we're gonna go over a little bit of everything today. We're gonna dip into some NFL. We're gonna dip into some NBA, Roland's favorite, the gift that keeps on giving, like my boy Roland says. And then we're also gonna touch on what else was it, boys? Help me out here.
Some MLB, little
MLB, a
MLB.
tiny. Yes, sir. So without further ado, I'll throw it to you guys, man. What's up? What's the vibe today? It is a Wednesday night hump day. How's y'all's day going so far?
Wednesday, we made it through the halfway point. Excited to be here with you guys. We did pod last week. We chopped it up a little bit about UFC Mexico. The picks didn't go so well for myself. I went 0-2 in the two main events. So I was on Yair and Brandon Moreno. Didn't do so good there, but still an exciting night of fights. Excited to have another UFC card coming up this week, even though we're not going to be talking about it. But yes, excited to be here chopping it up with you guys.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here too. We got Marky in the chat already talking about, is that a Brawny shirt? We are going to be talking about Brawny tonight. So, Ron, hype beast Ron, riding the wave. It's got the Brawny shirt. So,
Very early.
yeah,
in
happy to be
college.
here,
I
man.
like it.
We
Hey.
got a lot of topics tonight that
I gotta be first. Man.
You were definitely first with that one.
Shit.
Hey, and
Hey, shout out to my wife.
And he's probably getting a cut of that too with the new NIL rules. I'm not sure.
No shit. Hey, shout out to my wife, man. This was a Christmas gift. So shout out to wifey for hooking it up.
She knows you well. She knows you well.
She knows me too damn well. All right, but that's enough of that. That's enough of the little intro chatter. The reason that we're here today, the reason that all the boys got together and said, "Hey, let's do a show." What are we going to talk about? Obviously, NFL just finished. But free agency is huge right now. We got some guys up here on the screen. We're going to go through them individually. After that, we'll hit the Otani. And then, the cherry on top of the show is going to be, Braun's tweet. If you guys haven't seen it, Roland said put it on because we definitely need to talk about it. So let's get into the NFL first. We have Saquon. We got another running back in King Henry. We got another running back, Josh Jacobs. Killer Mike is up there also. And then somebody who got tagged. All right, so let's get into them individually, boys. Marky is here, and we do know that Mr. Marky loves him some Saquon. All right, so let's kick it off, man, with some Saquon Barkley. Where do you guys think he's going to land in free agency, first of all? And what's his Giants legacy going to be like? All right, Roland, I'll kick it to you first, man.
Saquon Barkley, I mean, to answer your question, his legacy is going to be, one of the better running backs that has gone through New York. He was drafted, I think, number 4 the year that he came out. So, he's a highly touted draft pick. He's been injured a lot, but when he's been healthy, nothing short of electric, a really, really great running back. You can say he's a perennial, top 5-ish running back when healthy. There's not a lot of guys that are better than him in open fields. So Saquon definitely wherever he lands going to be, improving that team for sure. He got tagged last year, or I think he signed a 1-year deal instead of getting tagged for $1 million more. That was a lot of talk last offseason. People were thinking if he really did himself any favors by signing that deal. But if you look to Vegas, where they have this lined up, the Giants are still the favorites to land him. But you know what? I'm going to go a little bit different here. It's the next favorite to land them, and I think this will lead to Ben's talking point. I think he's going to land with the Texans. The Texans are a team that has a couple of things that they need to check off if they want to, take that next step from – I'm not going to call them pretenders, but hey, they won the AFC South, which was kind of a weak division, but they want to stay atop that division and maybe take that next step in the playoffs. I think Saquon is definitely, a step in the right direction in terms of adding some more weaponry for CJ Stroud to use. So, give me Saquon Barkley to the Texans. I think that's like plus 150 right now, almost even money.
Shit, I like that, Ben. Perfect segue to you. We already know that you're a diehard Texans fan. We won't get into the Josh Allen, Bills Mafia. That's came and went. All right, we already razzed you enough for that. It's in the past. All right, season's over. You didn't go through the table. It wasn't official. So about how do
You
you
got to
feel
throw
Get
that in
about
on
there. You
with
got
it,
to throw that in
Ron.
there.
What are you doing here?
how do you feel about Roland, throwing you some love, and saying that, hey, you might finally get Quadzilla up there in, H-Town.
Yeah, just to start off, I'm not a Saquon Barkley fan myself. I know the big thing that stood out to me was and it's the big thing that everybody says about Saquon when healthy. He's not healthy a lot. He was pretty healthy this past year. Uh, you know, as a Texans fan, I hate Devin Singletary. So this is a huge upgrade from that, right? I mean, I'm not the biggest
Very
Saquon
true.
fan for what you pay him and the liability that he is with his health, but it'd be a huge upgrade. I mean, he's a guy that catches the ball and runs the ball. We saw the Pierce experiment. I think the Texans have kind of given up on Pierce. I know he was somebody that people had, as an RB2 type running back in fantasy football last season, and he was a complete dud. So the Texans do have a lot of cap room. This is Saquon just started following a lot of the Texans players. That was kind of a thing going around Twitter and Instagram last
There
week.
we go.
But I like what Roland said about him landing with the Texans. They have money to spend. They say that the way you win championships is with a quarterback on their rookie contract. So them going out and getting one of these, blue chip running backs to alleviate some of the pressure from CJ Stroud come playoff time makes sense. And out of all the guys that we're going to talk today, because there's three running backs that we're going to talk about, I think Saquon definitely is the biggest game changer out of all of them. So, I mean, I'm not mad at it. I just hope it's not like a more than a 2-year deal, to be honest. And I know that's a lot to ask for because this was a guy who, like Roland mentioned, was holding out last season, didn't hold out too long, signed that 1-year deal. But that's also why I don't see him going back to New York. I think
Yeah.
that hand has already been played. And I think that a new hand needs to be dealt for Saquon. And with him being able to choose where he goes, I think he's going to leave town.
Yeah, remember Saquon was a part of that running back brigade that was holding out for higher pay for running backs, and he was also the first one that broke. I think he
Couple days, bro,
I
like
mean,
48
yeah,
hours.
gotta go get your money though. Not gonna blame him for that, but still kind of funny. Ron, I think you might be on mute.
My bad. I thought I hit it. All right. So besides the Texans, man, which is kind of the clear favorite, there's some other teams that I put up here: the Ravens, the Bears, the Bengals, and the Cowboys. I forgot to put Tony Pollard up here. Roland said to put it. That's my bad. So let's
No
talk about the
worries.
Cowboys real quick. Because that's the team that everybody likes to talk about. But besides them, any other chance that you see him, Baltimore Bears or the Bengals? I mean, I would lean more to a team that doesn't have a running back established already, like Baltimore and the Bears. But any chances, boys, that you can see him in some of these other colors here?
Man, I can see him maybe, with Baltimore. Maybe the Bengals could surprise some people depending what they do with Mixon. I don't necessarily know what the
Mm,
future is there. But yeah, I mean, all of those teams that you noted are kind of running back hungry. It just depends on, how much they want to spend. I know you guys brought it up a lot during the last playoff run, but Baltimore, they seem to just get by with, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, these type of guys. Don't really have a lot of weight behind their names. I could maybe see them going to get Saquon, but I really do think it's either he might find a way back to New York or he'll sign with the Texans. I really think it's one of those two teams.
all right, cool. Ben, any other favorites here for you besides
Yeah, I mean,
Texans and the
maybe he
Giants?
chases the title and kind of goes and plays with Baltimore and sees, that's obviously the best team of everybody that's on there available that we have down, and we know that
Gotcha.
they need a running back. So it's just they give their running backs the ball a lot over there, and then you're asking. I know that we keep bringing up his health, man, but I mean, it has been a pretty big problem for him throughout his NFL career,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
No, it
Man,
has.
I
It's a
think
little thing
just in
here and there.
general, yeah, I mean, just in general with running backs is everybody's either getting hurt or I don't know, for some reason back, when I was younger or whatever, all these running backs, I would see them play often through injuries and teams really, if they kind of had that same running back, for those good, 6 to 8 years. And it was just that back. And now they're sharing the backfield and they're not, I don't want to say as important anymore, but defensive ends get paid more. I want to say the running back position as a
Uh,
whole has been put on the back burner.
uh, that
But
that second
let's keep moving
contract,
on. Rolling, go
that
for it.
second
Yeah.
and I was going to say that second contract is harder to come by. And you mentioned, the Cowboys, and I know he's not going to be pictured up here, but Tony Pollard isn't going to be tagged. He's one of the guys that wasn't tagged. He's going to hit free agency, which I think, Ron, you just changed the picture here. Might put the
Mhm.
Cowboys in play for this guy. Why don't you go ahead and introduce him?
All right, so we got Mr. Josh Jacobs. Where is his potential landing spot? Like we're going to talk about with all of them. But also, boys, this is somebody who has already been tagged. I mean, Saquon got tagged also, but this isn't somebody who's fresh like a Pollard who hasn't been tagged. Did Vegas do him dirty that first year? Because, like Roland said earlier, it was like, hey, let's get on the hype train and hold out and ask for all this money because running backs aren't getting paid anymore. And then boom, he gets tagged. So after coming out and speaking that way, your team tags you. I mean, Ben, if that's you, how do you feel about Vegas? And are you kind of saying, all right, I already went through the tag BS. Now you need to pay me or I'm out?
Yeah, I mean and that's because he was coming off the best season of his NFL career,
Great point.
and then they tagged him. So you definitely want to get paid there, but you also see it from the Raiders side of, well, you're paying top dollar at this point because, like I mentioned, it was the best season of his career. He might have even led the NFL in rushing yards that year, or been
He did.
second. But
And
yeah,
yards from
so
scrimmage.
he killed it, right? And then you're paying
Yeah.
absolutely top dollar. And how many, we're talking about the best year of his career. Can he duplicate that? Can he do that, for 2 or 3 years? So with the Raiders, it was just business. I think it is dirty because you want to see these guys get paid. And Roland's talking about, those second and third contracts with these running backs. When you go have a year like he did, you definitely think that you secure yourself, a good 3 or 4 more years with the team. So he's gone for damn sure. And this is one that makes sense for the Cowboys. I know that's been like the biggest name kind of attached to them, but I could definitely see him, playing for the Cowboys. And this is a guy that a little bit of Zeke in him, just a little still has a little of that juice.
Yeah, for sure. That franchise tag, that they put on him last year, I wouldn't say it was dirty, but it did turn out to kind of bite them in the butt because they did pay him. They ended up paying him top dollar anyways for just for 1 year in terms of the value, the contract value per the position. He ends up having a pretty, I guess, mid year based on kind of what he did the year before. Kind of dropped off a little bit. I'm not going to go ahead and say that he's so much as good as gone from the Raiders. I think he's got one thing working for him, and that's Antonio Pierce absolutely loves him. He
Yes.
did say the last few games that he was, he took over as the interim head coach before he became the actual head coach, that, what one way to win a ball game is by handing the ball off to Josh Jacobs and getting him involved as much as you can. So Josh Jacobs, do it all back. I like Ben's call out to Zeke Elliott. Kind of gives me those same vibes. Also a threat in the receiving game, not the most explosive guy, but to Ben's point, still has some juice at this point in his career. And if the Cowboys can get a hold of him, because they are going to let Tony Pollard hit free agency, not to say they're not going to try and, sign something with Tony Pollard, but definitely not going to be at the top dollar that I'm sure Tony Pollard was expecting to get coming into the season with the hype that was behind his name as, one of the hotter, spell running backs up until, Zeke's departure when, he was expected to take over as the lead running back and led to a pretty disappointing year. So I would like to see the Cowboys pursue Josh Jacobs or, one of the other running backs on this list, and wouldn't mind it at all.
It seems like we just want Tony Pollard gone. that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting here.
Hey, I mean, you give the guy the chance to shine on the big stage. He's the number one running back. He has a good offensive line. He's not a part of a offense that you're going to see a lot of 8 guys in the box. They're not going to load up to stop you all the time because you got weapons on the outside. You got a good quarterback. So everything is set up for Tony Pollard to succeed, and really didn't do good. I mean, he had a better, second half to the year, if we're being fair to Tony Pollard, but still not to what the Cowboys were expecting. And to me, I kind of always said that with Tony Pollard, he benefited from a guy like Zeke, kind of softening up the defense and, letting Tony Pollard come in and hit those long runs. So not a little bit different when you're the lead guy. So definitely, again, would like to see the Cowboys go after this guy.
I would too. It's just, I mean, it's it's crazy to say something bad about this guy because he was, the top leading rusher. But I honestly think that he stays in Vegas, man. I think last year toward the tail end of the season, they saw what was happening, with Pierce and turning that program around. And I think that, with the potential that they have, I don't think he's going to want to go anywhere. I think he might be tied, to a lot of guys and to a lot of the teammates. He could be a good personality around the locker room as well. He has that workhorse mentality, coming from Alabama. He just knows how to win, and everybody likes to be, around winners. There we go. Roland's back with us. But without further ado, man, not this king, but this other king. Let's get into Derrick Henry here. And as we know, Cowboys come up again. But besides the Cowboys, some other potential spots for Mr. King Henry are the Bills. And first thing that we always talk about with the Bills is running game, running game, running game. We saw a little spark this year from their running back, but it wasn't enough to win the big game. So besides the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bengals, the Bills are a different team here. One, do you guys think he goes to the Bills? Which leads me to my next point. He, not that he's an older running back, but is he chasing a ring here, boys? Or do you think he'd kind of just go where the money's right?
I think out of all of the guys that we've talked about today with the running backs, this is a guy who might be like ring chasing. He might be at
Okay.
that point in his career. So the Bills is a team that makes sense. The Cowboys is a team that makes sense if he goes on one of those team friendly deals. Because I don't know if the Cowboys are going to be wanting to break the bank for a running back. And I say break the bank in terms of like running back pay because we expect Saquon and Josh Jacobs to be paid pretty decently, right? Just based off their play and them knowing, being able to choose wherever they want to go. Henry seems like the guy in the group who's kind of like done pretty much done it all in his career except win a ring. And I think that he's the guy that would go and do like that Ray Allen type, comparing it to basketball, where Ray Allen really ring chased and went to the Heat. So I could see him going to a team that is going to get a home playoff game every year, like the Bills or the Cowboys. I could definitely see him putting himself in a position to play longer in the season. So yeah, I see him going to a contender, team friendly deal.
The Packers have been listed as a potential dark horse. We all know that their backup running back isn't the best. I think their Packers are fine to move along, from him. They just got Aaron Jones back from injury, but say he goes down again. I mean, if you're the Packers and you see what young receivers and what young quarterback you have, I mean, it could be smart, right, to go get somebody like King Henry just to give you some assurance in the backfield and for your overall offense.
Yeah, for sure. And even more than just assurance, I think this is a guy in Derrick Henry that's still got another 2 years left in the tank. I mean, he's only really had one season, maybe or two, affected truly by injury. I think the season before last, and I think maybe he was affected by injury this past season a little bit, but still got over 1,000 yards. Still a guy that's almost automatic in the goal line. I do agree with Ben. I think he'll end up on a contender. I think maybe, I've mentioned him a little bit earlier. I think the Ravens might be in the mix for this guy. Also, I've heard the Eagles attached to him as well. Although I wouldn't like him so much on the Eagles. I don't like their style of running out of the shotgun for him. And I know the Ravens do it a little bit too, but I think they go a little bit more under center and would probably accommodate a little bit more to Derrick Henry. So I like Derrick Henry to stay in the AFC, but definitely with a contender. Great career with Tennessee, and I got to give him props. I mean, he let Tennessee know right away. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm not re-signing with you guys." He gave him a farewell speech the last game of the season. So yeah, Derrick Henry, great career with Tennessee. Excited to see where he lands.
And I think that's probably what was one of the coolest things, man. He kind of did his whole. I mean, the picture here says it all. He's kind of just chunking up the deuces and says, "No matter what you do, no matter how much money, hey, I came, I saw, I conquered as much as I could, but it just didn't happen." Younger quarterback, Vrabel's. I think a lot of guys like him, but is he a winning coach? He hasn't proven
He
that
got
either.
fired.
Yeah, I mean, he got fired, so that whole coaching situation is all
It's a
messed up.
rebuild, pretty much.
He's chunking the deuces, man, and I'm kind of happy for him because you want to see a talented guy like this go out at the end of his career and have the best opportunity to win. So let's switch it up for the running backs, boys. We got two wide receivers coming up. One has been tagged, one hasn't. Ben, I'll kick it to you on the Mike Evans situation, man. I know you're a big Mike Evans fan, especially for fantasy purposes. Where is his landing spot? And talking about Derrick Henry, guys that are later in their career, he's always been wide receiver one. Can you see him take a step back and go to a team where he's the wide receiver two role, or you think Big Mike needs pause? I was gonna say needs the balls all the time, but this Killer Mike, Killer Mike needs
Big
the looks
pause.
all the time.
No, yeah. There was a lot of rumblings after the way that they finished the season that he was going to go back. With the Bucks deciding to bring Baker back, he was willing to go back over there. And I mean, if you want to keep putting up numbers and racking up stats, that's not a bad choice. Mike Evans also, I mean, he pretty much said that if he didn't get that deal done with the Bucks, he was walking. I don't see Baker Mayfield being enough to like change his mind, bro. Like that's not
Mhm.
Baker's cool and all, he's a gunslinger, but it's not like you're going to be chasing Super Bowls or doing any real damage, by staying. I like him to come back to Texas. I would prefer to get Mike Evans on the Texans rather than Saquon Barkley or any of the running backs. They have enough money to do both, but there's a place where, they have Nico Collins as their number one wide receiver. Tank Dell would be coming back from injury, but you could say that Mike Evans can be the number one over Nico Collins or 1A, 1B. But
I like
I
that.
really hope that he leaves the Bucks. I really do. I hope he kind of sticks to his word after them not getting that deal done, and then he goes off and has one of the better seasons in his career as well. I mean, he put up huge numbers, bro. Huge touchdown numbers this past year. So,
Yep.
yeah, I would love him on the Texans. This is like priority
That
number one in free agency for me for the Texans. I would love to get Mike Evans that wide receiver
like I ain't even gonna front, bro. That would be scary. Like Mike Evans on the Texans, that offense would be like you're taking the team total every single Sunday on them.
room.
Oh yeah, another weapon that would be pretty crazy with Tank Dell and Nico Collins there. But Mike Evans, another guy like Ron said in the beginning, another older guy, but just another dude that just produces year in and year out. 1,000-yard receiver. 1,000-yard year after 1,000-yard year. This year's no exception. And like Ben said, he found the end zone a lot. He had success with Baker. I think he might want to run it back with the Bucks. I mean, he has a good legacy there. I think that might mean a little something to him. He's won a Super Bowl, but also in terms of winning a Super Bowl, I also think he's a winner. I think he wants to be a part of a winning culture. Another team that's a little bit further down on the odds board, I could see him maybe going to the Chiefs. I don't think they're going to
I
spend, but
was
the Chiefs are
just
another
gonna
team
say,
that they were talking about. Hey, they got to improve on this wide receiving core. You can't just throw out Kelsey and Rasheed Rice and the rest of the guys over there. So I would like to see the Chiefs make a run at him. Ben said he had a lot of success this year with Baker. He also had a lot of success with his offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator is now the head coach with the Panthers. I don't think
ooh,
that is,
ooh.
as likely as that would be him, hey, I like the stats. I like the offense that I was in with this guy. I trust the offense. Let me follow that. I've heard some people talk about that angle. I don't really buy that, just throwing it out there. But I do see him either re-signing with the Bucks or, landing with a contender like the Texans or the Chiefs. Although I would like to see the Chiefs make a run at him because that offense would be scary. And I think Mike Evans, he's a caliber of player that deserves to be playing late into the playoffs because that's how good he is. He's a Hall of Famer.
Bro. And that's your point. I put that up here. Is he already? I mean, as soon as his career is over, I mean, is he first ballot? Is he a couple years it's going to take him? Or I mean, what are we thinking as far as Mike Evans Hall of Fame? He does have the Super Bowl already, so
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
is he
having the Super Bowl and
automatic?
just all those consecutive years of 1,000 yards, he's been a guy that's done it with a lot of different quarterbacks. Also, I mean, he did have the pleasure of playing with Brady and winning that one ring, but kind of like I hope he doesn't do like the Hopkins and how Hopkins went to Tennessee and here we are
Yeah,
talking about them rebuilding.
just chase the
Another guy I
bag.
could see
Yep.
asking for his way out of there, sometime this coming season. But I hope he doesn't do that and sign with somebody like the Panthers, like Roland said. I know it's probably a long shot, but the science is there with the OC being the
Yeah,
new
for
head
sure.
coach there. It would. I mean, I just hope he doesn't do that to his career because I think that would kind of be career suicide doing something like that.
It's funny that you say that because the Colts have been a team that's kind of shown interest in him, and I think a Mike Evans to the Colts could potentially be like a Hopkins to the Titans. Pittman is there. Pittman's going to want to get paid as well, but with the young quarterback, like Richardson, and then you still have. I don't know. I'm going blank on the running back there, but their defense was solid. I mean, they're kind of
Jonathan
like
Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor. I'm sorry, yeah. So they're kind of like those Chargers all those years with Phillip Rivers who like get to the playoffs but bounce in the first round. Like they're a couple games away from just going over that mountaintop. Are the Colts? But again, OG Mike, I don't think he's gonna go to the Colts, man. If he goes to the Chiefs, I would have to root for him, but say screw the
Yeah,
Chiefs.
I was on mute, but I was gonna tell Roland like, no, we don't want to see that, Roland.
That'd be
We don't
rowdy,
want
bro.
to. I don't want to compare it to Brady getting Moss, but bro, we don't want to see him with a red zone target like Mike Evans and
Sheesh. I
Kelsey.
was gonna
Forget
say,
about it.
imagine that.
Bro, that'd be insane. Like, there's not even words for the stats that Patrick Mahomes would put up, bro,
Yeah,
with
he'd be
Mike on
back up
Evans
in
on the
like
outside.
QB1 in fantasy football. I know that he's taking a dip, but you get him a weapon like that, and he's gonna be finishing a lot of drives with 6.
Mhm.
Rowdy, man. All right, well, let's move on to our final guy here as far as free agency goes for NFL. Somebody who's already been tagged, man. So we don't got to worry about where he's going to land. We already know T. Higgins has been tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals. He is a wide receiver too. The rumblings going around or that Burrow made him that year that they went to the the Super Bowl, won the AFC Championship. But boys, do you feel like he's really a wide receiver 1? Or is he just a really, really good wide receiver 2?
I think it's tough because he really hasn't had the opportunity. He's played, I think, with Jamar
Okay,
Chase much
good
of his
point.
career. I think right now he's a good 1A. I know a lot of teams were trying to look at him as potentially leading their wide receiver corps, although the Bengals got to it and tagged him. I think he's a very talented guy. I mean, honestly, like he's got the route tree. He's a tall receiver. He can go up, jump, and go get high point the ball for you. So I do think he's a quality receiver. Is he a top 5, top 10 receiver in the league? Probably not, but he's in that next tier. He's right there. So I'd call him like a 1A for sure.
All right, Ben, do you think that he should be upset? Like, players don't want to get tagged, bro. They want to get paid. But
He definitely should after being injured, but I also think
okay,
that that's why it's a smart move for the Bengals because if you are going to pay a guy wide receiver 1A money, you want to see him coming off of a good season. You want to, and maybe he's going to have a high price tag because he's a guy that would have gone out and gotten his quotes from all these teams. So coming off of a year like that, it really didn't give the Bengals a break because if he can go and test free agency with everybody else, the bag's going to come from some desperate team, that is in a better
yeah,
position than the Bengals are with having to pay Burrow, having to pay Jamar Chase, and whatnot. So smart move for the Bengals, but yeah, for a wide receiver coming off of a pretty injury riddled season like he just did, you don't gotta like being franchise tagged because that just guarantees you one more year of being paid. You don't want anything crazy to happen and whatnot. So I like it. I wouldn't want my team paying T. Higgins wide receiver 1 money, coming
yeah.
off of what we just saw that past season. I this might be a good thing for him. Maybe he balls out this 1 year and then okay, they can't
True.
tag him again, so he just goes
Yeah.
and gets a big bag. You know what I mean? But yeah, I wouldn't pay T. Higgins coming off of that season.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect scenario for it. No, go ahead, Roland.
No,
I
I
was
was just
just gonna
gonna
touch
say
on
a
it.
quick note to the the 1 year franchise tag is gonna pay him about 22 million. So pretty
Shit, that ain't
decent
a bad
for
tag.
the 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I mean
just
that's a
I
wide
didn't think it
receiver
was.
though. That's a wide receiver
I didn't
market.
think it was that much, bro.
It's
That's
20,
crazy.
21.8 to be exact is
It's
the
just
one
that
year
it's
tag for
1
Higgins.
year, right? You normally
Yeah,
want to be in contract with several years of insurance, in the bank.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you're gonna get paid 22 mil regardless, I mean, I'll take that all day.
And who knows? I mean, they tagged them, or they tagged him obviously because they like him, they want to keep him, don't want to do the
Mhm.
long-term contract just yet. But so I do think what this says for Cincy is that, like Ben said, hey, come out, ball, set yourself up maybe for a contract, but maybe that if he balls to begin the year, say first six games of the season, maybe that
Yeah.
applies pressure for them to work out a long-term deal before he hits the open market at the end of the year next year and becomes a full-on free agent, because they're not going to be able to do the tagging, and or if they do, it's going to be at some absurd number, even crazier than 21.8. So
Right.
yeah,
And
don't rule
it's
them out.
kind of sounds like they're ready to move on from Joe Mixon too. So he's somebody that they won't have to throw a lot of money at. A bigger star that they won't have to throw a lot of money at, and maybe they can throw that at Mr. T Higgins. But that kind of wraps it up, man, for our NFL free agency. We just kind of wanted to touch on it, and especially with the running back situations and us being, or the majority of us being Cowboy fans, we're kind of saying, oh my God, like get one of these big
Hey,
names over
You
here,
didn't
bro,
get any
because
of those
Pollard ain't
coaches. Let's
it.
get y'all a free agent, right?
Shit, man. What's up, Gabe? Don't sleep.
yeah,
Cowboys
we're gonna have
2025.
some
We're not
draft talk
buying.
coming up soon. We got the combine. I think that kicks off, is it tomorrow or sometime this week, the draft
Yeah.
combine?
Soon,
Yeah,
bro.
I was gonna say we didn't talk about Fields and the Bears, but the Bears said that they'll be making their decision pretty soon. We know that once all these GMs and coaches start getting to the combine, that's when the deals get done. That's when that Carolina Panthers deal got done last year. So I expect, the Bears, they did say that they were going to make their decision here in the next couple of days. So we should know whether they're trading that number one pick or, they're keeping it and trading away Fields.
I like it. Hot take here. Ben
Yeah.
is no longer a Bills fan and fully committed to the Texans. We already discussed that, Gabe, but
Late to the party,
I
Gabe.
always like that. I always like when everybody
To,
throws a little bit more salt in Ben's open wound here.
to
Anything else you guys want to touch
tomorrow.
on before we move to MLB?
Yeah, just gonna say for the NFL, the combine is tomorrow. Starts off with the defensive linemen and the linebackers at 2 p.m. And then I think the real fun gets started, I guess, with the defensive backs running the 40 times on Friday, and then Saturday is when the QBs, receivers, and running backs. What do you guys care about quarterbacks throwing at this combine? I know a couple of the top guys already said they're probably not going to throw, like Caleb Williams and what's the other guy that I'm blanking out? LSU.
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels
Daniels?
said they're not going to throw. You guys care about
I
that at
think
all?
I just think that both of them are pretty like secured as one and
Mm.
two already. I think that obviously for Caleb Williams, he's going to be the first quarterback taken no matter who's picking. So what's the point of just giving the media some more fuel if maybe you miss a couple of throws and whatnot? I just feel like if you're a made man already, why go and still gamble? Why go and play another hand if you're up?
What an
You're guaranteed.
analysis. I
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I
No,
agree.
man, it's like saying, Zion coming out of Duke and saying like, "Oh, let's see you dunk," or like a really good shooter coming out of college and saying like, "Hey, get in an open gym by yourself and get a ball rack next to you and put up some shots." Like I don't really think it's that big of a deal. These guys are already stars. You know that the capability that they have. I think it's more for guys who want to prove themselves. Guys who are maybe second rounders who scouts haven't really seen them in person, or GMs out there just to really see that ball spin in person. But like you guys are saying, I mean, top five quarterbacks.
It's
I
the
mean,
last two
why
Heisman
even go out
winners. I
there?
mean, the last
Yeah,
2 years Heisman winners, so it's
I feel you. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, moving on. Let's go to my favorite team, and now not my new favorite player, but I think all of California's new favorite player. Huge debut for Mr. Otani. He homered in his first at bat in spring training in Arizona. $700 million man. We're gonna get into World Series favorites in a little bit. Obviously, they're the clear favorite. I guess the question in you guys is just, is he going to live up to the hype?
Real quick answer: no, he's not going to.
yeah.
Wow, straight
He's not.
up.
He's not gonna pitch all this year. Probably never. Look, my hot take is that
Here it is. Here it is.
he's never gonna be the full time starting pitcher that he was with the Angels. You guys are gonna get more of like He's not going to be a full-time rotational
Say
pitcher like he was with the
Chris
Angels
Sale.
ever. Not saying that he's going to decline so much, but I'm just saying that he's not going to be an every 5-day rotational pitcher like he was with the Angels. And I think he's going to fall a little short. Might, jack 50 home runs this year, though, because he's a stud at the plate. But I don't think he'll look, because the $700 million you're putting together, the best pitching contract and the best, hitters contract, in my opinion, for $700 million. That's just crazy, even though it's deferred and all that stuff. Shout out, what's the guy's name? Bobby Bonilla. Shout out to him. But yeah, he's not going to live up to it.
All right, so that was a clear answer from, and quick. Ben, what you got, bro? You're going to do me dirty like that too, or no?
I mean, I still think that we see him win at least another MVP, in his career for sure. But, the being every 5 guy in the rotation, like Roland said, maybe the Dodgers do pump the brakes on that a little bit and maybe slow him back into it. So I can definitely see it this year. Those are just very high odds to live up to, bro. $700 million. I don't think anybody could live up to that. So I'm going to agree with Roland and say that he doesn't live up to the contract. I'm not going to say his pitching is like Chris Sale, going to Boston to where he's coming out of the bullpen and shit. You're always going to have him hitting, at least DHing. We know that he's pretty decent, if he has to play the field. So it's just the pitching. Like Roland said, you're paying for like the ace. You're paying for a Cy Young guy at the same time as a hitter, and probably not going to get that.
All right, boys. That
What's your take,
scar on
bro?
his arm. Yeah, that scar on his arm was like rowdy, bro. But I don't mind him taking a year off from pitching, right? This is like a blessing in disguise. He gets to focus on the bat, and that lineup for the Dodgers is going to be like extremely stacked, man. I mean, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, the list goes on and on and on. So, as far as that, I'm cool with him not pitching. I mean, this is the modern day Babe Ruth. All right, let's not get it twisted. And as far as everybody talking about the money, you know how much the Dodgers are gonna make off this guy in the next coming years. I mean, tickets are gonna be sold out. Jersey sales are gonna be insane. Not to mention the international market that he's bringing to Los Angeles and California. I mean, this is like, you can kind of compare it to, to stock trading, right? They invested in Ohtani as a stock because that stock is going to keep rising and rising and making the Los Angeles Dodgers franchise a lot of money. Now, for his performance on the field, I mean, MVP says it all, just like Ben said. So those 3 letters to me make it worth every single penny. He's going to be more focused now, I think, than ever, because I think that he's a player who, loves to play the game. You can kind of just see it. I mean, that's how all these, Asian players are. You feel like they just wanted a little bit more. We like to use that term. They got that dog in them. And I think these guys really do eat, sleep, and breathe baseball. I mean, we already heard some reports of Carlos Rendon, saying like, I don't really care. Like, baseball is just a job. It's like, dude, you got a huge bag to go, and get into a crazy lineup like how LA is doing right now. We've seen the Manny Machados of the world. Like, dude, those guys.
Yasiel Puigs of the world.
Yeah, I mean, hey, chill on the Yasiel Puig, bro. But I don't know, man. We've just seen it where players get bags. Mike Trout too.
We've also seen a lot of players go to the Dodgers and just fail, Ron.
I don't know about all that. I mean, there's a couple players here and there, but JD Martinez came, and I mean, he's an older player, but he did well on the team. But to my Ohtani point, man, I think it's the best case scenario. I think that the ceiling is extremely high for him, and he's going to live up to the potential. That's my take on it.
All right.
Any other MLB news you guys want to touch on real quick? I know Gabe said $700 million just to lose to the Astros. I mean, you guys got lucky.
I guess if anything comes up, we can talk about it because the next one is the MLB odds, isn't it? So we can
get into
that, and if anything comes to mind.
All All right, let's run it, man. So here are the World Series odds, the top 9, and then I just put the Rockies on there because they have the longest odds. The Dodgers, the Braves, the Astros, the Yankees, and the defending champ Rangers are rounding out the top 5. Then you have the Phillies, Orioles, Twins, Diego's Toronto Blue Jays at plus 2,000, and then the longest odds plus 5,000, the Colorado Rockies. I'm gonna have to switch this up so we can see the odds here, boys. All right. So who are you guys picking? You already know who my pick is. I'm clearly going with my Dodgers.
You're taking the chalk.
Out web ball.
Man.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, we gotta have that Astros ticket because we just know that they play deep into every postseason, no matter what.
700 ain't bad.
The what I will say is, I know last year there was some hype on the Blue Jays, and I think that we just gotta accept the Blue Jays for being kind of like an exciting team, but when it really comes to it, it's kind of like, the Rockets with Harden, the way people perceive that team. As soon as the playoffs start, these guys kind of shit down their, piss down their leg, shit their pants. So I'm done believing in the Blue Jays. I know last year we took their season win total over. I don't even think that shit got over.
Manoah would just get wrecked.
Yeah, give me and I feel the same way about the Twins. Like the Twins, I mean, I know that they're led by Carlos Correa and he is a champ, but I just don't think that they have the pitching and all that around it. So give me the Astros and give me the Phillies. The Phillies are always tough.
Okay.
The Phillies seem to get hot in the playoffs, kind of comparing them to like the Giants back in the day when they would go to the Super Bowl. They're not, best record, but they just get hot at the right time and they roll in the playoffs. So I like the Phillies and the Astros is where I would go.
All right, Roland, we know that you're an Astros fan. Anything that you got to, say about the defending champs being at plus 1,400? And to me, boys, the Yankees at plus 800 still being in the top 4 after all the losing seasons that they had was kind of a shock. So, Roland, what do you think, man? Where are you at in your World Series odds
the
here?
Yankees, definitely a lot of like name value behind them. They still got a lot of big names in their lineup. Still got a top heavy, rotation led by Garrett Cole. So they're going to find themselves there. But I think a lot has to go right for them to get there. You mentioned the Rangers. That's kind of where I went. I know you got to separate the money from the emotion and who you root for and whatnot, but I don't know if I could get myself to bet for the Rangers, but I do like their odds at plus 1,400. They're going to get some help back in the middle of the year, hopefully with DeGrom coming back off that injury. So the Rangers, they're definitely live there at plus 1,400. If I were to look a little bit further down the board, maybe actually, they're still a little bit lower, but the Orioles. But I do like the Astros. I mean, they added Josh Hader. I think that was a big signing for them to shore up that bullpen. That was a sign of weakness or a point of weakness for them last year. So definitely, like Ben said, they always play deep into the postseason, so you can't look away from the Astros. Then also with the MLB, that you kind of have to factor in, and they don't really ever get there all the way to the end and pull it off. It's been maybe a little while, but there's going to be a dark horse, or there's going to be a team that comes out of nowhere and surprises teams, like a team that's up here now, but they weren't up on anybody's odds boards last year, is the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles, their season win total last year, I think, was like in the 70s or low 80s at that. So no one expected the Orioles to make a run, but they were kind of like the darling of the summer. Everybody wanted them to go ahead and pull it off until the wheels fell off at the end. But they still have a pretty good rotation there in Baltimore. So look for a team that's not on the board to go and sneak up. I know like the Rays might be out there.
D-backs.
The D-backs and other. Go ahead. You guys finish it off. But yeah,
that was my next point. To Ben said they're plus 4,000, dude, and they're like one of the youngest, up and coming teams. We saw what they did last year with no experience at all whatsoever. So the D-backs at plus 4,000. I mean, you could, maybe not take them to win the World Series, but say that to win the pennant, to win their division. I think that there's a lot. To me, there's a lot of smart money there.
What?
Yeah, no, fair point.
$10 hits for 400.
To win the pennant, they're at a plus 1,500 to win the NL. But that's a good point, Ron. A very young team. They had the Rookie of the Year. Yeah, Diamondbacks another team that should be in the mix. They're just in a very, tough division there in the West. I think the Dodgers are like minus 500 or something to win.
And they also weren't they just representing? Weren't they just in the World Series? The D-backs this past. I
Yeah,
mean, I know
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
watched
the
it.
World Series.
That's
Yeah.
why it's easy to forget. But I mean, just being there and then not even being, one of the top 10 teams listed, the disrespect.
The
It's gonna be hard to
disrespect
do,
is
right?
real, bro.
It's gonna be hard to do to get there again. But shit, those odds, you gotta like it when you see teams like the Yankees that are missing the playoffs. But that's all that public money, that Mondo money, the Guppy money.
That's the casual money is what we're gonna
Casual.
call it. That's the casual money.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's just put a little cherry on top of the show. We're about 45 minutes deep.
Yep.
Thanks everybody who's been watching. Gabe's been here. Marky's been here. Alan stopped in for a bit. So we appreciate everybody if you can like and share. Try to get into I think we want to get to about 5K on IG and 10K on Facebook. We're pretty close. So every little like and share and comment helps. But all right, boys, here it is. I'll go ahead and read the tweet out. All right. And you guys can go ahead and give y'all's opinion. Can y'all just please let the kid be a kid and enjoy college basketball? The work and results will ultimately do the talking no matter what he decides to do. If y'all don't know, he doesn't care what a mock draft says. He just works. Earned, not given. Bron James, USC, number 6. Bronny, Bron.
Hey,
Boys,
I'm gonna give a hot
what are we
take.
thinking here?
I'm gonna give a hot take, and
Give it.
then I'm gonna give
Give
my real take on this whole thing. LeBron James for
it.
sure was sipping on the wine, not only tonight, but a couple of weeks ago. And how funny! And again, I'm not making fun of Bronny in this because this is unfortunate because this is the dad tweeting and stuff. So Bronny has no say in any of this. So I'm gonna give Bronny complete pass here. This is all at LeBron James. Couple weeks ago, LeBron was tweeting, "Man, Bronny." He's better than some of these guys that I see on League Pass every night. He for sure would be getting minutes and buckets on these guys. Like he's gonna be in the league easy, league him easy. Like LeBron James was already putting the spin on Bronny as a prospect, and this is all. This tweet is because of the whole draft order that came out that removed Bronny from the draft this year and suggested that he ought to wait an extra year and come out in 2025, which is where I'm giving my real take, and I hope that happens. I don't think it's a kiss of death if you don't come out your freshman year. We've seen guys come out later, your sophomore year, your junior year, even. Some guys are late bloomers. It doesn't happen all the time. But Bronny he's in a good situation, still has the genes, might not be as good as his dad, which I mean, I think we can all accept, but I just hope he doesn't, feel like he's under any type of pressure that he has to make that leap into the NBA if he's not ready. I don't think that they're hating and by removing him from the mock draft. I think that says something a little bit about his play on the court has been less than stellar. The team hasn't really been good over there in LA. I see Ron repping the maroon and yellow or whatever they call it, but yeah, I hope he takes his time. And LeBron James, get off of X. Just focus on your game tonight. And you're sometime in the first quarter. Hope you're not tweeting right now. But yeah, how the tables have turned. He was saying that he would take some guys as spots in the league right now. Pretty disrespectful to be putting that out there. Honestly, I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. And so hopefully, though, Bronny takes his time and he ends up succeeding. But yeah, the GM's tripping.
The GM, Ben, you've seen the stats. I mean, it seems like every day Bronny's, stats get posted on, some kind of social media. He's averaging like 5 points, couple of assists a game, not even hitting double digits. I mean, what's your take on him? Is it better for him to wait? Will he even like come out and be a success in the NBA, or are we looking like at a LiAngelo Ball kind of situation, dare I say? I mean, can you go that far to say maybe he's just not that talented and the name on the back of his jersey is just weighing heavy on him?
No, I won't go as far as saying LiAngelo Ball just because
All right,
LiAngelo
all
also had like that incident that, kind of blackballed him on top of his dad, putting on a show the way he did. But
Big
what I will
facts.
say about Bronny is like, dude, also, I don't see his stats, and that says a lot. Because if he was playing well, I probably would be seeing his stats. But to be honest, I haven't seen his stat line. I don't think he's starting, is he? He's not even a starter. So, like, what are we talking about? NBA draft? I think, Roland, you're muted. We can't hear you, but.
Got you. I got him.
At
Oh,
that he almost died in the off season.
Yeah, he had a DeMar Hamlin moment.
True.
And we're here talking about him being drafted already, but he's not even starting. And the other thing I'll say is if he has any man, I can't think of the word right now, but like if he looks in the mirror and really says like, okay, if I declare awareness,
self-reflection.
If I declare and I get drafted, it's probably just off the strength of my pops, and that's like the silver spoon that everybody imagines him having, based on his basketball career. So if he had any awareness, he would come back, become a starter for USC at least, and average double-digit points, something respectable, bro, because I don't think that he gets that lost in the sauce just based off of LeBron and, the stance that he's taken. And I want to play with Bronny, so a team might just take that shot just for a couple of years of LeBron. You know what I mean? But if he has any awareness, he would come back, become a starter, and at least kind of earn some of it the hard way. Because right now, it's definitely has not been earned, and it would be given, off of that LeBron aura and just, the strength of pops.
I mean, and there's two things here that I want to talk about, like off the court too, right? If he does come back for, say, a sophomore year, even a junior year, I mean, that NIL money is going to be crazier than what it is now, especially if he's like becomes a bigger star. Let's face it. I mean, he's not a star right now in college. He's not going to be topping Sports Center with, his play and his points. If he develops and he starts dropping, say 15, 20 points a game, and really takes USC to, not a deep run at March Madness, but, Cinderella story, whatever you want to call it, man. If he just gets, if he just gets more limelight, that NIL money is going to be crazy. Then LeBron, I know LeBron well. Roland says Le GM, but this is kind of like a Le Pops, He always can spin it and say like, well, education is very important, and I would like for him to finish his education at the university and then maybe take his talents to the NBA. He could always have that spin. So there's a lot of different ways here that you can go with this whole Bronny subject, man.
I could for sure see that being a tweet.
Play on the court. Yeah,
I could for sure see that being a tweet coming up already, probably in the drafts. Yeah. Like, hey, like
it would completely contradict him wanting to play with Bronny because
hey, well, no, hey, LeBron,
but if the proof is there, and your son just doesn't have it, like you got to start spinning some kind of
LeBron
stories,
might already
bro.
be working on the spin. He might be accepting his son might take an extra year. Word on the street is he's working on a 2 to 3 year extension. So that would take him to like his age 42 season. So still giving Bronny a little bit of cushion to get to the league there, even if he does come back for an extra year. And you already see ESPN spinning it too. And this is a thing that it's unfortunate for Bronny, but this is just the machine that we're in. We already see ESPN posting the side by sides of Bronny and Jimmy Butler. They're like Jimmy Butler also averaged 5 points his freshman year, and look at where he's at. And it's like, dude, just let this kid breathe. You know what I mean? I know what they're trying to do there, but it just takes me back to my original point, though. It's not the kiss of death if he comes back an extra year. So just take it with that.
Yeah, and Jimmy played several years of college ball.
Yeah. But it's just funny that ESPN does that shit. It's just...
I mean, Uno, right? I mean, how many points did he average when he was at Arizona State? I mean, he was like an unknown too. I mean,
he was the number 4 draft.
A lot of guys.
He was a top 10 NBA pick. We're talking about getting thrown off the mock drafts right now, Ron.
All right, man. That kind of wraps it up for Are We Talking Shop here for the night.
So, Ron,
boys, anything else that you want to get into?
Nah, dude. I just want to know.
You want to say?
Just want to know when you're moving to LA, when you're moving out west. You only got one team keeping you here now. You only got one team keeping you here.
That's
It's the
true.
Cowboys.
The boys, right? The boys.
All of
Man,
your
I don't know.
teams are out west.
My sister talking about going to LA. Maybe I'm gonna have to go ahead and join her, but nah, something's got me
Just
kind of locked in here.
just watch though, Roland. I mean, the Chargers are in LA now. They just got Harbaugh. Herbie's been his guy. It's just wait,
Nah,
dog.
Burrow, bro, Burrow.
Just
You're
wait.
you're the Herbie guy.
No,
You're
I
the
hate
fantasy.
Herbert. And now I
Just
said
because he
I'm
didn't do shit for you this year.
no.
That's the one
I
year he
just have
does
not
bad
been
for
a
you, and now
fan of
you're
the
off the
guy. I think
train.
that I've always said that he has like all the attributes, but then when it comes down to it, you blow a 17-point lead to the Jags, like that type of shit. But it's going to be hard now that he has Harbaugh. It's going to be hard to hate on him because they're going to be playing some winning football. So I could see you taking
Bro,
your talents fully, to LA.
And you
I
have
mean,
already
I've
said
been
you're on the
there
brinks with the
once. I love
Cowboys. If the Cowboys do you dirty.
If they give Dak 60 mil a year, Chamos.
Oh my! No, I
Yeah,
didn't
I
say
said that.
Chavo. I said I'm a pause. I was like, I'm a
Nah,
pause.
you
I'm not
said
gonna
I'm
be
gonna have
another
to pull
team's
a
fan.
band and I'm gonna have to get
Nah,
out of here.
I'll chill, bro. Before I put on another team's jersey like that, I'm gonna just like maybe take a little hiatus. You know.
All right, well let's
Um,
get out of here, bro, so
Yeah.
we can get some dinner.
let's do it. I got some Jack in the Box waiting for me, man.
Yeah.
Oof.
So hey, and you know what? But not to end the note on the somber note, but Marky put it here in the chat. Uh, we lost a member of the We Talking About Sports squad, not of the team, but he was in the
It's in the
what's
commercial
that word
in
I'm
the
looking
ad.
for, Roland?
He was in the trenches.
No, yeah, he was in the trenches with us, but he was he was part of the entourage.
Yeah.
Definite part of the entourage, man. R.I.P. Charlie. If you guys don't know, Charlie is Ben and Gabby's pup, and he's in doggy heaven now. So this show was dedicated to Charlie.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Charlie was in
Rest
our
in
We
peace.
Talking About Spurts merch drop video, so he made a little
Yeah.
appearance on there.
Yo, he sure did. If you haven't seen it, go check him out. Pay your respects to Charlie on our Instagram. But for Ben and for Roland, and I guess we'll throw in Justin. He's busy tonight, but he is our brother. So we miss you. You need to get back on the pod. I'll play the outro, and we can dip, boys.
Peace.
Peace.